Tension exploded when my alien wife found me in the wrong place. She is my sister. The forbidden discovery. Jace Morwen pressed his palm against the translucent panel, watching error codes cascade across his handheld scanner. The maintenance tunnel shouldn't have led him here, to a chamber pulsing with ethereal blue light, its walls covered in flowing Velarin script that seemed to breathe. Damn navigation malfunction, he muttered, stepping through the archway before realizing his mistake. The air changed instantly, cooler, charged with energy that made his skin tingle. Crystalline pillars rose from the floor like frozen waterfalls, and in their center stood a figure whose presence commanded the space. Nhyra Soloth turned sharply, her luminous silver skin catching the chamber's glow. Her ice-blue eyes widened with genuine shock, then narrowed with barely controlled fury. The elegant warrior wore her ceremonial armor, each plate etched with her family's honor marks. "You dare enter the Sanctuary of Echoes?" Her voice was cold precision. Jace raised his hands immediately. "I didn't. The system glitch led me here. I was tracking the source of the station's power fluctuations." "As was I." Nhyra's posture remained rigid, though confusion flickered across her angular features. In the 6 months since their diplomatic bonding ceremony, they'd barely spoken beyond formal pleasantries. Now, caught together in the most sacred Velarin space, the irony wasn't lost on either of them. "This is catastrophic," she whispered, not to him but to herself. Footsteps echoed from another entrance. Kira Soloth appeared, her younger features sharing Nhyra's elegance but lacking the hardened discipline. Her eyes found Jace first, lingering with barely disguised warmth before noting her sister's distress. "The elders will hear of this immediately," Kira said, though her tone carried more excitement than alarm. "A human in the sanctuary, and with you, sister? The scandal." "Silence, Kira." Nhyra's command cut through the chamber. "This changes everything." Jace felt the weight of invisible boundaries shattering around them, unaware that this forbidden moment would ignite something neither protocols nor politics could contain. Accusations and revelations. The council chamber felt suffocating despite its vast dome. Jace stood before 5 Velarin elders, their crystalline features unreadable as carved stone. Nhyra remained separate, forced by protocol to distance herself from her bonded partner during judgment. Velix Tarn spoke first, his ancient voice echoing. "The sanctuary violation demands severe consequence. Human ignorance is no defense." "I take full responsibility," Jace said firmly. "The navigation error was my equipment's failure, not intentional disrespect." "Yet you proceeded without verification." Another elder leaned forward. "And you, Commander Nhyra, were also present. 2 bonded partners in the sanctuary. Some might call this conspiracy." Nhyra's jaw tightened. "Counselor, Jace Morwen acted without knowledge. I was investigating the same system anomaly independently. Our presence was coincidental, nothing more." "Nothing more." Velix's gaze sharpened. "In 6 months of partnership, you've maintained proper distance. Now you defend him with passion. Perhaps this arrangement has become complicated." Heat crept up Jace's neck. Nhyra's defense surprised him. She'd never shown him anything but cool formality. Kira stepped forward from the observers. "Elder Velix, I can confirm they arrived separately. I witnessed." "Your testimony is noted but unnecessary, Scholar Kira." Velix dismissed her with a gesture. "We adjourn to deliberate. Commander Nhyra, you will escort the human to confinement quarters." The corridor outside was mercifully empty. Nhyra walked 3 paces ahead, her spine rigid with tension. Jace watched the way light played across her silver skin, noticed for the first time how gracefully she moved. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for defending me." She stopped abruptly, turning to face him. In the dim corridor lighting, her features softened almost imperceptibly. "I spoke truth, nothing more." "Nhyra." He stepped closer, drawn by something he couldn't name. "Why have we kept this distance? This arrangement doesn't have to be cold." Her breath caught, a tiny, vulnerable sound. "Because proximity breeds complications. Emotions compromise duty. I learned that long ago." Or maybe, Jace said gently, distance is what's been compromising everything. For a moment, they stood suspended in possibility. Nhyra's hand lifted slightly, as if reaching for him, before she remembered herself and pulled back. The confinement quarters are this way. Her voice was barely steady. As she turned away, Jace glimpsed something in her expression that made his heart race, longing, carefully hidden but unmistakably present. The arranged bond between them suddenly felt like the thinnest barrier to something profound. Behind a nearby column, Kira watched them disappear down the corridor, her hands clenched tight with emotions she couldn't fully name. Dangerous proximity. The station shuddered violently, alarms shrieking through every corridor. Jace's confinement lasted barely 2 hours before Nhyra returned, her expression urgent. The power fluctuations are cascading. Engineering needs both our expertise, Council's orders. She unlocked his door with swift efficiency. They ran together through tilting hallways, Darren Quill meeting them at a junction with equipment bags. The cause destabilizing near Section 7. That's Velarin residential territory. Evacuations. Nhyra demanded. Underway, but slow. The children's quarter is still occupied. Darren's face was grim. They descended into the station's infrastructure, where massive conduits pulsed with erratic energy. The heat was oppressive, the air thick with ozone. Jace's scanner showed critical readings everywhere. There, the coupling junction is fracturing. Nhyra pointed to a platform suspended over a churning energy well. I can reach it, Jace said, already calculating the approach. Too dangerous alone. Nhyra grabbed a safety harness, her fingers brushing his as she secured it around his chest. The contact sent electricity through them both that had nothing to do with the station's crisis. They crossed the platform together, working in synchrony despite never having done so before. Jace recalibrated human systems while Nhyra rerouted Velarin energy flows. The station groaned around them, metal screaming. Jace, above you. A support beam broke free. Nhyra moved faster than thought, pulling him against her as they rolled away from the crushing impact. They landed hard, Nhyra's body shielding his, her face inches from his own. Time suspended. Her breath mingled with his, warm and quick. The luminous patterns on her skin pulsed with light that he now understood signaled deep emotion. You saved me, he whispered. I. Her usual composure cracked entirely. I couldn't let you. The moment broke as Darren shouted warnings. But as they pulled apart and returned to desperate work, something fundamental had shifted. Each glance held weight. Each accidental touch lingered. They stabilized the core together, exhausted and covered in grime. Walking back through safer corridors, Nhyra's hand found his in the shadows between lights. She didn't let go. My sister has feelings for you, she said quietly. I've seen how she looks at you. Jace squeezed her fingers gently. Kira is young and kind. But she's not who makes my heart forget its rhythm. Nhyra stopped walking, turning to face him fully. Vulnerability and strength warred in her expression. This terrifies me, Jace. Feeling this way. Wanting. He raised his free hand to her cheek, marveling at the warmth beneath the crystalline texture. I know. Me too. Their first kiss happened in that quiet corridor, gentle, questioning, then deepening with 6 months of denied longing. When they finally parted, both were trembling. The Council will never approve, Nhyra whispered against his lips. Then we'll change their minds together. Breaking boundaries. The days following the crisis blurred into stolen moments and careful deception. Jace and Nhyra maintained formal distance in public while their private world burned with newfound passion. In empty observation decks overlooking Silvara's starfield, they shared whispered confessions and tentative touches that grew bolder with each encounter. Tell me about your childhood, Jace murmured one evening, his fingers tracing the luminous patterns along Nhyra's arm. They sat close on a bench, her head resting against his shoulder. Rigid, disciplined, beautiful in its own way. Her voice held rare softness. My mother was a stellar commander. She taught me that emotions were weapons enemies could exploit. I believed her until... Until you looked at me like I was more than a political arrangement. She turned to kiss him slowly, deeply, pouring 6 months of loneliness into the connection. Their embrace intensified, hands exploring with growing urgency. Nhyra's usually controlled breathing became ragged as Jace's lips found the curve of her neck. She pulled him closer, fingers threading through his hair, and for precious minutes the universe contained only them. A throat cleared sharply. They broke apart to find Kira standing in the entrance, her expression a complex mixture of pain and resignation. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but you need to know, Councillor Revatha's faction is moving against you both." Nhyra stood immediately, composure snapping back into place despite flushed skin. "What have you heard?" "They know about your relationship." Kira's voice wavered slightly. "They are using it. But there's more. Revath approached me yesterday, asking me to testify that Jace has been inappropriate, that he's manipulated both of us for political advantage." Jace felt ice in his stomach. "What did you say?" Kira met his eyes directly, and he saw the internal battle she'd fought written across her face. "I told them the truth, that you've never been anything but honorable. That if my sister has fallen for you, it's because you're worthy of it." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Even though I wish, even though I hoped." Nhyra moved to her sister, taking her hands. "Kira." "No, let me finish." Kira's eyes glistened. "I've been foolish, nursing feelings for someone who was never mine to want. You deserve happiness, Nhyra. You've sacrificed everything for duty your whole life. If this human makes you smile the way I've seen recently, then I'll stand with you both." The sisters embraced, and Jace saw years of unspoken tensions dissolving between them. When Kira pulled back, she managed a genuine smile despite her tears. "But you need a plan. Revath is presenting his case tomorrow. They'll attempt to dissolve your bond and exile Jace permanently. Then we stop hiding." Nhyra's voice carried the steel of her warrior training. "We stand together and face whatever comes." That night, alone in his quarters, Jace found Nhyra at his door. No words were needed. She stepped inside, and they came together with desperate tenderness, knowing tomorrow might tear them apart. They made love slowly, reverently, memorizing each touch and sigh. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Nhyra traced patterns on his chest. "Whatever happens, Jace Morwen, you've awakened something in me I thought was frozen forever. I love you." "I love you too," he whispered into her hair. "And we're going to fight for this. Love beyond borders." The Grand Assembly Chamber held every significant member of both human and Velar leadership. Jace stood with Nhyra before them, their hands clasped openly, a declaration in itself. Councillor Revatha's voice dripped with disdain. This union was meant to symbolize respectful cooperation between our peoples. Instead, it has become a scandal. Forbidden intimacy, emotional entanglement, these were never the agreement's intention. Velix Tarn raised a hand. "The human may speak." Jace stepped forward, though he didn't release Nhyra's hand. "Councillor Revath is correct that this wasn't the original intention. Our bonding was political theatre, two strangers signed to a contract neither wanted. But something unexpected happened. We found genuine connection. We fell in love." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. "Isn't that the point?" Jace continued, his voice growing stronger. "You wanted our peoples to bridge differences, to prove that humans and Velarin could coexist. What better proof than two people who chose each other beyond the politics? Who discovered that connection transcends species when we're brave enough to be vulnerable?" Nhyra stepped beside him, addressing her people in their flowing language before switching to common speech. "I was taught that duty required sacrificing personal desires. But I've learned that duty without heart is hollow. Jace has shown me that strength and tenderness aren't opposites, they're partners. Our love doesn't weaken the alliance. It proves the alliance can be real." Kira stood from the observers section. "I support my sister and Jace Morwen. I've witnessed their journey, the respect, the struggle, the courage it took to admit their feelings. If we punish genuine love, what hope do our peoples have?" Darren added his voice, then others, humans and Velerin who'd watched the couple's transformation. Velix Tarn studied them for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Perhaps we elders have forgotten that the strongest bonds are chosen, not assigned. The Council will recognize this union as legitimate, not merely political, but personal. May it indeed be the bridge we hoped for. Relief and joy flooded through Jace as Nhira pulled him into an embrace before the entire assembly. Their kiss was met with cautious approval from some, resistance from others, but undeniable acknowledgement from all. Weeks later, Jace and Nhira stood together in the observation deck where they'd first kissed, watching stars will pass Silvara Station. Kira had been promoted to lead a new cultural exchange program, finding purpose in building bridges rather than nursing impossible desires. No regrets? Jace asked, pulling Nhira close. Only that we wasted 6 months being afraid. She smiled against his shoulder. Though perhaps we needed that time to understand what we were fighting for. To breaking boundaries. He raised an imaginary glass. To building new ones, together. She kissed him as starlight painted them both in silver and gold. Their love had begun in a forbidden space, grown through danger and doubt, and emerged as something that would reshape the future for both their peoples. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when we accidentally wander into places we were told never to go. Lessons from the stars. Love recognizes no borders that courage cannot cross. When hearts are brave enough to be vulnerable, the universe conspires to make space for connection. The strongest partnerships are not assigned by duty but chosen through the daily decision to see, understand, and cherish another soul completely. Sometimes what we think we want blinds us to what we truly need. Letting go of impossible desires opens us to real and reciprocal love.